It's 9 o'clock on the East Coast of America, and live from the WACA studios, this is Good Night. And joining us here on Good Night this evening is Mike Wassenaar, who is the president and CEO of the Alliance of Community Media. Mike, welcome to the first edition of Good Night.
It's good to be here. Thank you.
Well, it's an honor to have you here, and I thought it was important to invite you on as a guest for Good Night because there's a lot of proposed change of going on with community media and with the FCC and the cable licensing rights. And I really wanted to talk about it because the future of access TV could drastically change with what the FCC has proposed. So who better to go to than the president and CEO? Let's get your take on what's happening with the FCC.
Well, to make a long story short, the FCC is, they act like the referee in a football match or an umpire in a baseball game. They interpret the rules that Congress lays out for how telecommunications works in America. So the rules that govern cable were basically laid out broadly in the 1984 Cable Act. And they say that communities can manage their own rights of way, their own land, and provide a license for a cable company to make money in your community. Basically, it's rent that you're getting for the use of that public property. I mean, it seems like a pretty basic concept, the idea that, you can control your own property, you can charge a value for it, and you can get rent in return. So the Cable Act outlines two types of rent, if you will, that come from these franchises that local communities have with the cable industry across the country for that use of public property. One is franchise fees. The other one is channels and channel capacity, the channels that we're on, channels like this across Massachusetts, and actually in all the states of the Union, have channels that local communities have negotiated for in one way, shape, or form. So the referee in this case, the FCC, is trying to rewrite the rules at this point to reinterpret what a franchise fee is and is not. And that's because Congress capped the amount of money a local community could get from a franchise fee at 5% of gross revenues. They made sure that the rent wouldn't go, sky high over the course of the years. They capped the rent, if you will, at 5% of gross revenues for the use of that public property. And that's been the law of the land for over 35 years. Now, what the FCC is proposing to do now is to redefine what a franchise fee is and to count the value of all sorts of other goods and services that communities get as a side effect or a benefit of having a channel like yours, and count that against the franchise fee cap. So let's say, for example, you're getting spots on the local cable channel promoting Goodnight on a regular basis, or other channels on WACA. That's typically been a free service that a cable company has given as a benefit to local communities to help folks. Now, under the FCC's rules, those could be charged at that free service could be charged at a fair market value and then charged back against the rent that you're getting for public property. And this kind of escalates to all sorts of things that they're looking at. Anything from the transmission lines that are used to go from the origination point for studios to the cable companies. So charging market rates for just transmission to be able to get to people's homes. To the channel capacity itself. Actually, they contemplate charging back the commercial value of a non-commercial channel. And theoretically, what that could mean is, we estimate that anywhere from 30 to 50% of those franchise fees that go to support community television, but other services at the local level. Sometimes people are paying for firefighters and police officers as a result of those franchise fees, depending on what state you're in. 30 to 50% of that money could simply evaporate with the FCC's new rules. And that would have like a huge impact on local communities being able to communicate with one another across America and in your town.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that because as a longtime local elected official, the only way that people can really get to know what's really going on at their local town halls or city halls is by broadcasting live meetings, and people can make their own opinions and they watch a live meeting. People can make their own opinions and really learn what's going on, but potentially with this new FCC change, a lot of that could go away. Is that correct?
Well, I think that's a huge danger. It's a huge danger for local democracy, for that really the two-way communication that's necessary. One, a local government needs to communicate with citizens and residents about things that are happening that are vital and in their interest. And two, citizens and residents need to actually monitor local government, right? They need to, be watching and keep a watchful eye to make sure that government is working for them. That's how democracy works.
Hold people accountable.
It's not just when we show up at the polls. It's the everyday machinations of making sure that we're holding people accountable and we're doing good in the world. That's why government exists. Now, if that's eliminated at the local level, you wonder what's left for a lot of local communities. I mean, there's a concept of media deserts that people have been talking about, I think. And if you're in a small town in America, you've seen your newspaper go from a daily to a weekly to maybe a monthly in some instances, or it's disappeared in its entirety. Or local radio. Local radio's been bought out, and the news hole in local radio has shrunk and disappeared almost in its entirety. So one of the things that we're actually hearing from local government around the country is that it's harder and harder to actually reach people. And then it's flip side. There are studies that say if you don't have local media coverage, and I'm not saying this against you as a local government official. Sure. The odds of corruption go up. Oh, because nobody's watching.
100% they go up. Exactly. 100% they go up.
So it's a huge problem that we have to nip in the bud. We have to actually value localism in our media system, and that means that we have to be investing in it. We have to be protecting it. We've got to be ensuring that these rules aren't written so that there's a disincentive from having local channels. I mean, so think about it for a minute. If suddenly the cost of carrying a channel means that you get 50% less money for franchise fees, the rent you're charging for the right of way. What do you think is going to happen in small towns across the country? They're going to be faced with a choice. You keep the doors open of City Hall, or do you keep the channel? It's one of the two, but it can't be both. And that's a fundamental problem. And it's something that Congress recognizes. Congress wrote the Cable Act to ensure that we have this local system. It was devoted to local interests and needs. And it's something that the FCC is ignoring right now. And members of Congress are not happy about this. So actually we're seeing, there in Massachusetts, members of Congress are stepping up. I think 5 of the U.S. House of Delegates have written to the FCC saying, no, stop it. You can't do this. This violates Congress's will. It's not good for the country, and it's not your job to rewrite the law. And your 2 U.S. senators have said that as well, both Elizabeth Warren and Edward Markey, who have been, Edward Markey certainly has had a career of supporting local governments and their information needs in telecommunications. He's really been a stalwart for you. Not just for you, but actually for people all around the country. They've both said to the FCC, no, stop it. Basically, we've seen an outpouring of folks around the country who are upset about this because they depend upon services like this.
So Ed Markey and Elizabeth Warren have spoken out against it, and I think that's important. But the government shutdown at the end of last year, in 2018, kind of slowed this down. I mean, the FCC could come in tomorrow, hypothetically, and put this in place, or where are we at with that time frame?
So this is the thing to understand, is that they don't have a shot clock. They don't have a script. I mean, they may have a script, but it doesn't have necessarily a date certain when something comes out when they propose a rule. And in fact, for some of the rulemakings that have occurred with the FCC, the rules never actually get promulgated. They simply, languor and sit on somebody's desk. So there's no guarantee that a rule will come forward. However, it's pretty clear to me that this FCC leadership is interested in deregulation, and they're interested in making sure that there is that they try to push things forward as fast as they can in the limited time that they have. The FCC leadership is appointed by whatever president's in office. So, the 2020 elections will have a relationship with the leadership of the FCC in 2021. Okay. They're probably thinking about trying to get as much done as they can because they can't guarantee what's going to happen in 2020 with the presidential election. So I'm not predicting that the rule is going to come out tomorrow. I think it's safe to say that we can probably predict that something will come out in the coming year. But it's important for us to try to modify things, to talk about the harms that are going to happen, and then also for Congress, which has an oversight responsibility for the FCC, to ask questions about whether or not the commission is acting in the public's interest and acting in communities' interest, as was outlined by the Cable Act. So that's why it's important for members of Congress to be involved at this stage. They provide oversight for the administration and for this independent commission. And particularly in the House, the House Energy and Commerce Committee has said that they will be providing oversight, and they'll be looking at the FCC's deregulatory mission to make sure that they're not harming people. So there's an opportunity, I think, to slow this down if Congress gets involved.
So the average person who's watching this can do what? They can do a letter writing campaign. They can reach out to their elected leaders and let them know that they don't think that this is acceptable.
The most important thing I think people can do is they can either reach out to their local electeds, people that they know. Let's say if you know someone on your board of selectmen, or your mayor, or you could reach out to them and ask them to talk to Congress. But you can talk to Congress yourself. And actually, we've seen a lot of folks in the last couple of weeks actually writing letters to Congress asking them to stop the FCC from doing damage to communities. So we're circulating a petition that people can use, just a simple electronic petition. You can find it on the ACM website, and I'm happy to give you that in a few moments if you want. The other thing you can do is you can just simply call your U.S. representatives. In Massachusetts, there are 4 U.S. representatives that have not yet expressed concern or disapproval of the FCC's actions, and I think that one of them actually could be in your community if Catherine Clark is a representative there in Watertown. She's been, I think, very, very supportive of the local community there, and she has a concern about issues in Watertown, but her office hasn't yet stepped up and issued a letter of disapproval like the other 5 other U.S. representatives of Massachusetts have.
All right, so Catherine Clark, time to step up and protect local cable access. Yeah, so we'll contact her and let her know that that's important.
And be sure to be polite.
Of course,
be
always.
Polite on this one.
Always
you talk about the things that you support and love, and I think there's actually a very, very good story to tell about the benefits that happen in local access. And I think that's the thing that we have to keep talking about, is we want to support things that are useful, that help local democracy, that help our local communities. And I think, there in Watertown and in lots of other communities in Massachusetts, there's actually a very good story to tell. And it's something worth fighting for.
Well, I think you bring up a very valid point. Not only does local cable access cover government meetings, but I think it defines a community. Either if you're in Ashland or if you're in the city of Boston, you're in Watertown, you're in Worcester, it defines the community because it offers so much more than just the meetings. It gives a viewpoint of the kids. It gives sports, shows like this. I think it's important, and I don't want to have people wake up one day and say, "Wait a minute, what happened?" I think that
right.
We have to educate people today and say, "This is a core value of our community here. We need to protect it." Because, it's always easy to Monday morning quarterback. Well, you guys should have done this. You should have done that. I don't want, because when this does come down from the FCC, I imagine it's going to be swift. Wouldn't you imagine?
Yeah, and then they'll give a notice out, and then it'll take effect in a certain period of time. And my sense is that there will probably be a legal challenge, because it's not clear to me, and it's not clear to other legal experts that we work with, that the FCC is interpreting the law correctly, that they have the ability to do what they're trying to do and redefine those franchisees. So there will be a legal battle. The problem is that the legal battle can go on. It could take 18 months, and there's damage that will happen in local communities. Mm-hmm. Those fees will go down, and we don't want channels to go dark during the course of that legal battle.
And the FCC's got deeper pockets than probably your organization has as well, too. So you have to look at that.
I can't speak about their pockets, but
right.
I can tell you a little bit about ours. We're a small nonprofit that works with people across the country. So you're correct. It's going to take a lot of people, a lot of communities to fight this thing to make sure that we keep localism strong in 2019 and beyond.
So to fight that battle, you had mentioned earlier about having an online forum and getting that information out. Why don't you share that with us?
So if you want to go to the community media website, allcommunitymedia.org/America's channels, there's information about a petition you can sign, or there's also information about numbers you can call for your U.S. representatives or senators to be able to express your opinion. So go to allcommunitymedia.org/America's channels, and you'll be able to go to a petition that basically allows you to connect with your U.S. representative to have your voice heard.
So we'll put that on the ending of the credits of this program, and we'll tweet that out and everything. What more do we need to know? Is that we only have about a minute left here.
Well, what you need to know is that even though it's a technical process and it's a commission that is kind of walled off from a lot of Americans, it's important that your voice be heard. It sort of underlines the message that we have for community media across the country and access channels, that the individual voices and the voices of communities are important. So people shouldn't be discouraged. They should be concerned, and they should take action to be able to protect something that they love and that they would demand in their community, a service that they really need. So keep that in mind as you're moving forward with this. It's important that as many people as possible could be involved in the struggle here. Well,
Mike, thanks for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us here on Goodnight. We're going to help you with this cause, and like you said, we got to reach out to our senators politely and respectfully, and make sure that this is on the forefront.
And keep in mind, it's the U.S. representatives that are important now. Your U.S. senator's already spoken to Massachusetts, so reach out to those U.S. representatives.
All right, Mike, thanks for taking a couple minutes. You're tuned to Goodnight. We'll be right back. Thanks to the Velvet Ants and Parasol. Hope you enjoyed that video. In local news, Boston, in addition to being #1 in football and baseball, has recently become #1 in national traffic congestion. And in other news, water is wet. According to analytics firm IREX, Boston has moved up from the rank of #7 in 2018 to the rank of #1 this year. Drivers on the road lost almost 7 days in time spent on the road. Heck, the reason we don't have a studio audience here tonight is because half of them are still stuck on 93 exit ramps, and the other half have been on the Green Line since Thursday. In other New England news, spring has sprung, and that means snow battered the East Coast from Sunday into Monday. Boston received almost 1.5 feet, catching the brunt of the storm. In completely unrelated news, Southwest Airlines will begin running flights to Hawaii in mid-March, flying from California with totals as low as $49. So if you're sick of snow, Southwest has you covered. And unlike United, there's a service charge that guarantees you won't be thrown off a flight for no reason. An Oregon man was stuck in his car for 5 days after a car accident left him locked in his car and covered by snow. 36-year-old Jeremy Taylor was trapped with his dog for the whole stretch, and the two reportedly survived on excess Taco Bell fire sauce packets. He was eventually rescued and fed, and Taco Bell responded to the article, offering well wishes and a taco care package. Now, I have two opinions on this situation. On one hand, as someone who spicy food does not agree with, looks like I'm freezing to death in my car, but on the other hand, if that means free Taco Bell, I suppose I'll have to find the deepest snowbank in a 2-mile radius. I'll do what I have to do for free Taco Bell. Moving to India, as farmers are coming up in arms due to a recent ravaging of crops by a not-so-common pest. Scarecrows don't seem to be doing the trick, however, because the pests are parrots. And the farmers are harvesting opium. According to the BBC, parrots are pecking on the stems of opium plants and flying away, with having them result in huge losses for farmers for this season. Not even because of the volume of parrots, but because of how addicted to the opium the parrots have become. The parrots, according to the opium specialists, are susceptible to huge bursts of energy after consuming the opium. The farmers have resorted to using firecrackers to scare away the parrots, but I'm not sure that's the right approach. As somebody from a nation that unfortunately is going through its own opiate crisis, we need to get these parrots help. We need to put them in rehabilitation clinic and offer them love and support. Compassion is the best way you can help someone suffering from addiction, whether it's someone you know or a parrot in India. The Geneva Motor Show starts this Thursday, and all the top car manufacturers are flocking to the show, offering their new models. The Geneva Motor Show is usually what produces those crazy concept pictures you put on your wall, but never end up seeing the light of day. But long past are the days of hypercar-driven motor shows, or are they? This year, as in years past, is shaping up to having major emphasis on the electric car market. With different laws in Europe aimed at reducing carbon emission, car companies are eager to make the most desirable vehicles if buyers should have to trade up. But the difference comes in making those cars stand out from your average Prius or Nissan Leaf. And companies like Mercedes and Audi have shifted, making performance-oriented cars that will be on display this week. Among those souped-up battery-powered cars, Automobili Pininfarina is expected to reveal their newest model, an electric car with a top speed of 250 miles an hour. And with a range of 300 miles, if the math is correct, you'll be only able to drive it for an hour and 20 minutes at a top speed before needing to charge. Maybe not the most practical thing in the world, but who doesn't want to save the environment and drive at a ludicrous speed at the same time? Now turning to pop culture. In pop culture news, Oscar-winning director Steven Spielberg is feuding with Netflix over the results of last week's Academy Awards. Netflix's main horse in the race, Alfonso Cuarón, directed Roma, and was a favorite in many categories, but only ended up taking home Best Foreign Film, Best Cinematography, and Best Director. Some are speculating that the Best Picture snub of Cuarón's films is due to a licensing of Netflix, with whom the Academy has long held a grudge against and against streaming films in general. The current requirements deem that regardless of the distributor, a film must be screened in a theater in order to be eligible for the Oscars. Netflix has reportedly been shut out of many theater chains, however, and thus Roma, ultimately able to meet the requirements, was not seen in theaters as many as Best Picture winner Green Book. Spielberg enters the picture after reports of the proposed rule changes to the Academy would shut out Netflix of Oscar contention altogether. Overall, how you watch a movie shouldn't be a factor in whether or not it wins an awards. Besides, we're all going to be pissed off at the Oscars for one reason or another, and you know we're all going to go out of our way to see the best foreign film nominees unless they're streaming. So the decision is yours, Academy. But Spielberg's comment about the legitimacy of Netflix, saying they're more qualified for Emmys than Oscars, doesn't hold any water. I mean, the 50 Shades movies have been screened in theaters, and I wouldn't put those up for Oscar contention in the place of Roma. At the end of the day, there shouldn't be a compromise. Just nominate the films based on how they are. I will not compromise, however. Christian Bale's abs, those are a national treasure and deserve the Oscar they can get. In other movie controversy news, reviews site Rotten Tomatoes is changing the display algorithm after many haters of the soon-to-be released Marvel movie Captain Marvel review bombed the film's Rotten Tomatoes page with negative press. Now the majority of those haters are not paid reviewers, but are simply angry about the film star Brie Larson's recent comments about the industry and the movie's overall female positive image. A similar review bomb tactic was used to flame the most recent Star Wars movie. The change came from Rotten Tomatoes has removed aggregate scores from both the audience and critic ratings, instead showing that the tomato meter for both after the film's release and showing no ratings at all, but removing the want to see page from the given film. When Captain Marvel inevitably does well at the box office this weekend, expect Marvel to greenlight the sequel, Captain Marvel vs. the Trolls, which consists of Brie Larson beating up internet harassers for 120 minutes. Game of Thrones is coming to an end, and with it, so will be the guy who runs around the office yelling, "No spoilers," every Monday. The final season premieres August 14th, as whoever hasn't been killed yet vies for the Iron Throne. The show has become one of the most culturally significant pieces on TV over the past few years, famous for its killing of main characters and engaging fantasy, but sadly is coming to an end this May. We'll be right back after a quick break with an interview with Ian from the Velvet Ants. You're watching Goodnight right here on WACA and the World Wide Web.
Outskirts of
And we're here with Ian from the Velvet Ants. Ian, so exciting times. You've got your 5th studio album has just hit.
We do, yes.
Let's talk a little bit about it.
So it's our 5th full-length album. It was co-produced by Jordan Zadarozny of Blinker the Star, and it also features Ken Stringfellow of the Posies, who we've been working with since 2012. And yeah, we're really excited about it.
Yeah, it's got to be an exciting time. So your 5th album, so things are good. Arrows Always is the name of the album. How can people learn more about it?
They could check out our Bandcamp page, which is like our main site, as well as most streaming sites. It's available. And we also have CDs, tapes, and vinyl available to buy.
Vinyl, that's a nice added plus, yeah. You getting a lot of response on that?
Not yet, but it's still in production, and we have to find a way for people to pre-order it, but we'll be keeping people posted on that. The CDs and tapes are available now.
Great. So you can just go all through social media and find you guys. So let's talk about your social media sites.
Sure.
How do people find you?
We're on Facebook at Velvet Ants, same with YouTube and Twitter. On Instagram, we're The Velvet Ants. There's a lot of bands that are kind of piggybacking on bands that are already existing. But yeah, we're out there. You can find us.
So what do people need to know about this new album? What's the exciting things about the new album?
It's just really fresh. It worked out great. Not every album works out that way. Sometimes it's a struggle, both in the writing process and in the studio, but this one worked out great, and it sounds very fresh. So.
Good, so it's got to be an exciting time. You guys are going to be out on the road. You're going to be performing in and around the Boston area.
We should be, yes.
So people can look for that and learn more about it. Well, Ian, it's a pleasure to have you here on
Thanks
Goodnight.
so much.
It's an honor to have you here on the inaugural program of Goodnight, and people can learn more about you. Great.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. All right, so you've learned more about Ian and the Velvet Ants. Go buy their albums now, and we'll be back right after this.
Did I say it was okay in here? Still I find it hard to disappear. Disconnected by the atmosphere. Did I say it was okay in here? It's been interference. It's been interference, so it's been interference all damn day. Did I say it was okay in here? Still I find you might have interfered. disconnected by the atmosphere. Did I say it was okay in here? It's been interference. It's been interference. Oh, it's been interference. Oh, damn day. It's been interference. It's been interference. So it's been interference. Oh, damn day. Find you. I only wanted to find you. Find you. Find you. I only wanted to find you. Find you. Find you. I only wanted to find you. Find you. I've seen you flaunt it all and more. I've seen you flickering for sure. I see you falling for my call. Find you. I only wanted to find you. Find you. Find you. I only wanted to find you. Find you. Find you. I only wanted to find you. Find you. I've seen you flaunt it all so cold. I've seen you flickering no hope. I see you falling for my call. Reflected through a waterfall. Find you. I only wanted to find you. Find you. Find you. I only wanted to find you. Find you. Find you. I only wanted to find you. Find you. Find you. I only wanted to find you. Find you. With no distractions here at hand, I should be happy where I am. And when I'm in this state of mind, I'm far away. I'm far away. I'll bite the knife and dive in time to save you. I'll bite the knife and dive in time to save you. I'll bite the knife and dive in time to save you. I'll bite the knife and dive in time to save you. The words that fail me once again could offer something that it ends. following. I'll bite the knife and dive in time to save you. I'll bite the knife and dive in time to save you. I'll bite the knife and dive in time to save you. I'll bite the knife and dive in time to save you. Time to save you. I'll bite the knife and dive in time to save you. I'll bite the knife and dive in time to save you. I'll bite the knife and dive in time to save you. Unseen, I want impression. Tear the screen, I want this pleasure. So it goes on my own. So off I go, so I'm told, on my own, time to fade away. Seen unseen, I want impression. Tear the screen, I want this pleasure. Seen unseen, I want tear the screen, I want this pleasure. I feel so calm. I feel so calm. Unseen, I want impression. Tear the screen, I want this pleasure. Seen unseen, I want impression. Tear the screen, I want this pleasure. I may feel so calm.
Thank you for joining us despite technical difficulties. We also want to thank Mike Wasserman and the Velvet Ants. We'll see you Thursday with former Governor Bill Weld and our comedian William Trenny. And that's right here on the next edition of Good Night. Good night, everybody.